This is a rather convoluted video about this pruning wound here. Now, I took this branch off in 2014, as you'll see later on in the video, and what I propose to do is video this every year to show the development of this healing process. So it's now 2016, so there's been 2 annual updates, but this will continue for some years. So what I propose to do is update the video every year and delete the previous one until we've got a final covering. This is an oak tree, so an oak tree will handle this. As we've discussed later on in the video, species and wound size make a great deal of difference. This is a nice fine oak that I've been pruning up over the years, and it keeps on going, etc, etc, etc. But you'll see that it's covered in pruning marks, which is fine. So this video really is an investigation into pruning. Now, depending upon the species, the size of the branch that you can prune off is dependent upon that. So with oak that is durable, you can prune a larger branch off than, say, something like sycamore. Say sycamore, if you prune a 2-inch branch off, then there's a bit of a chance that the centre of that pruning will rot out before the tree covers that wound, whereas an oak you can go 6 or 7 inches and it will still cover. So let's investigate that. So there you can see some pruning marks where it's healed over. There's a big one up there, and there's an even bigger one there. Quite largish branches that have come off, but they've healed over, and it's a matter of pruning it at the right point between the branch and the main stem. And if we look on an oak around the back there, we'll see that there's a thing called the branch collar, and it's a swelling around the branch right next to the main stem, and in that there are specific cells that are designed to heal over. So you need to remove the branch completely but leave the collar intact. So you're obviously pruning for the shape of the tree and the quality of the timber, and in the book I cover this quite a lot. You see, we've got branch collar here, and this is an example of, I think it's Norway, where a branch has been pruned. There's the branch and there's the pruning, and the tree has grown over it. So there's that there, and then there's something about grain, and then a bit further on we have, and a bit later on in the video we're going to be talking about the bark ridge, and this is what happens on the bark ridge. There's the branch, there's the main stem, and as they've grown together you've got included bark, which is a bit of a problem, but otherwise you're going to get lots of reaction wood in there, which is not a lot of use for joinery and structural stuff. Anyway, that's the little bit in this book about that. So here's another of this little grove of oak trees. Not particularly brilliant form, as you can see there, but let's just have a look at that side branch. Zoom in. I can see the branch collar, and if you can see, well, we'll have a look at the branch collar first, and I'll just try and point to it with a stick. And you see that swelling there, so you need to take that line and come round here like this. The bottom bit is always difficult, but there's the branch collar there, so you need to take that line. Now if you see this branch that's been removed here, there is some callous growing. I'll just change the camera and we can see that angle, but this is the healing process. So as you can see, the callus is all the way round. Little bit, this is shallow there, but the rest is all the way around. So we've got the level of the cut virtually right there. This bottom bit is always difficult. You sort of come out a bit more than you think, or you go in a bit more, and it's really quite tenuous because there's no defined collar there. On some other species there's a better definition, but that's pretty good. This is what you're looking for. You're looking for the callus or the new growth all the way around. So this is what we've come to look at. This was quite a large branch and it was growing over some apple trees, so I decided to remove the branch. So you go, whoa, it's not that big, but let's just get some scale into it. This was cut in July 2014. See how big it is? Quite a large wound, and we are now in September and there's just a bit of healing growth all the way around there and all the way around there, but there's nothing at the moment at the bottom. I'll show a side angle at the moment, but what I propose is that maybe next year or the year after we take some more film of this and just see how quickly it heals over. There's a side view and you can see that it's on a slope. So the overall wound was about 8¼ inches, and between the callus now it is 6½ inches, which is quite impressive in 1 year. So the callus itself, a bit difficult to measure it, but let's go to the inside of the bark there. It's basically 20 mil, not far short of 3/4 inch. But if you notice, it's quite thick, and just at the bottom it's just starting, just round here and here. So in other words, when I cut that off, it should have been out maybe another 3/4 inch, bit of a shallower angle. Still, we'll see what it's like next year. Okay, it's 2016 and things have improved somewhat with this callus. Look at the bottom there, we're really starting to see something growing there now. But let's have a quick measurement. Just to remind you, the callus here is now 1¼ inches. Put that in metric. 32 millimeters. And across here we've got 5.9 inches, and I think it was 6½ inches last time. So it's coming together, it's healing over. More details next year. So this is another cut on the very same tree. Let's move this ash out of the way. That's where the wound was. Right, and this mark here is the bark ridge. You imagine you've got a branch and a main stem, and as they grow the intersection moves slowly together, right, and so it causes this ridge as the two as the branch and the main stem squeeze together and each gets fatter. It causes this ridge, and I'll see if I can see it on another tree. Coming round the other side of this tree, there's another side branch there, and you can see the bark ridge there. It's quite a large diameter tree, this 18 inches, and this side branch, that side branch there, has obviously been there for quite a while from an early age, so the bark ridge goes right back to near the centre. So you've got the branch collar where you prune to, and the bark ridge tells you how long the branch has been there, but also it shows that there's a lot of reaction wood within the main stem at that point. So again, if you want timber, prune them off early. This is a Scots pine here, and we've done various prunings on it. Let's zoom in on that. As you can see, they've healed over, and there's a little bit of a branch collar, so it's pretty obvious where to prune them to. And Norway spruce are pretty outrageous, actually, because their branch collars are relatively large. So here's a Norway spruce, quite a hairy beast, and let's just zoom in and see the branch collar. About there maybe. There you can see a huge branch collar on there. So it's pretty obvious where to prune to, but you wouldn't want to prune these early on in the season, or they bleed with sap, something rotten. So just coming back to the original point, the size of the wound is dependent upon the species. Those that rot out quick needs to be the smaller branch, and if you want good timber, it wants to be smaller branches anyway.